I want to talk about the e-tolls, the much-hated e-tolls if you live in Gauteng. People, majority, have continued with the boycott. They're still not paying. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni again saying, I urge the nation to pay your bills, give to Caesar what is due to Caesar. Is that actually going to happen? Should government not just cut its losses here, because this boycott by motorists in this province doesn't seem to be moving at all?
Yeah, no, it's quite resilient. It's been very resilient, I think. And the other part of that is that there's a real hesitance because we already pay multiple taxes on the roads. You pay tax every time that you pour petrol into your car. You pay tax, and that's supposed to be what covers the road usage, the wear and tear. And then you get taxed again through traffic tickets and so on and so forth. So you're actually being taxed 3 times as a resident of Gauteng. And remember that this isn't only impacting on residents of Gauteng. So for all the people who are do deliveries and long distance business people from Durban, for example, from Mpumalanga, from Limpopo, as they pass via Gauteng, which is of course a thoroughway across the country in terms of business and economic transactions, they too have to carry this burden. So it isn't per se only Gauteng, as we've actually externalized this issue.
I want to get you more, in fact, on the Minister's pronouncements on e-tolls, because many Gauteng motorists, as we've been saying, will not be happy with what he said this afternoon. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni touching on the fact that government remains resolute, in fact, in trying to continue with this user pay principle when it comes to the e-toll gantries. Take a listen to exactly what he said.
Cabinet has considered several options to resolve the impasse over the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project. The reconfigured approach to the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project and its financing will be determined by the Ministers of Finance and Transport after consultations with the Premier of Gauteng and the Executive Council. Further details will be provided by the Minister of Transport. But, honourable members, not paying your tolls is not an option. We therefore have to ensure that we honour our obligations. I urge the nation to pay for bills for services rendered. We need to build a culture of payment, as government services can only be sustained if we all pay what is due.
Okay, let's get your reaction to that now. The announcement on the e-tolls. Our reporter Moloko Moloto is at the offices of the organisation undoing tax abuse. That's OUTA and Randburg. You know, OUTA has long opposed the e-toll system, going as far as fighting it in court, Moloko. And listening to the early indications by the minister as we wait for final pronouncement from Fikile Mbalula at Transport, it appears by all indications at this stage that these gantries are here to stay.
That is true, Tembeki. And in fact, if you're also listening to the Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni, he's insisting that people who are using these gantries must continue to pay, even going on, as you read the statement, that without paying, services are not going to be sustainable. But let's get the reaction from the organization undoing tax abuse. They have been really on this case of e-tolls. They've been opposing it from day one. Wayne Duvenache is speaking on behalf of OUTA. Wayne, thank you so much. I'm sure you heard what the minister had to say about the e-tolls in Gauteng. What is your response?
Well, he continues to beat the same tune that they have for 6 years of a failed scheme. For him to say that the road users must continue to pay, well, they're not paying. So what does he mean by that? Does he mean the 20% who continue to pay must continue to pay, while the 80% who aren't paying must continue not to pay? So what we need to understand, or what the minister needs to understand, is that this is not your typical user pay scheme, non-efficient user pay scheme when 80% of people aren't paying. You need 90% of users to pay these schemes. Around the world, that's where they succeed. So this is not like electricity, where you switch off if the users don't pay. You cannot switch the freeways off. So they have a serious problem, and they haven't told us how they're going to resolve this matter. That's the problem that they have.
And I'm reading the written speech here. He says, not paying your tolls has already led to our roads deteriorating, and we have been unable to maintain the network. Does he not have a point, though? Because
which roads? I mean, which roads have deteriorated? Not the e-toll roads, and these are the roads that those are funding. You remember, government has been giving grants all the time to Treasury, 15 billion rand to Sanral a year. Treasury is allocated. So the money is there. The fuel levy has gone up since the Gauteng freeway improvement from 24 billion per annum to 80 billion. The money is there. What they cannot do is double tax Gauteng motorists who also pay the fuel levy and who pay taxes. Big infrastructure, freeway upgrades in eThekwini, not told. But we must be told. So it's a serious problem of inconsistent application of this user pays principle. There are many roads in this country that we don't use, but I'm paying towards them. You and I are paying towards them. This is the economic heartland of South Africa. The productivity in this country benefits the entire country. These are not Gauteng's roads, they are South Africa's roads, and they must understand that. But if they want to flog this dead horse, they must continue to flog it and tell us how they're going to enforce it, because up until now they haven't been able to do so.
All right, thanks very much. Wayne Juvenaga from Organisation Undoing Tax Abuse. What is even interesting, Tembekile, is that while at the national level, government has decided that this user pay system must continue, in Gauteng we know the provincial government opposes it, and even the African National Congress in Gauteng has previously marched onto the union buildings over the continuation of the e-tolls. Whether they will ever resolve this impasse, we're all waiting to see.
Now into the drama over those e-tolls, Moloko Moloto at Alta's headquarters in Randburg.